there. So coming to um, what I heard or what I saw when I reached out to you and said, "Hey, should we jump on and do an episode around the way that you see niches and this
Yeah.
idea of kind of creating almost like a limitation um, to create within?"
Yeah.
What occurs to you as being I guess linking from what we just talked about, and I can also see, and I'd love to know your thoughts on this, would you see also where the territory is changing, the way that our point of view is going to kind of weave around it? What does that then mean in terms of our niches? And I think first and foremost, because I think you've got a particularly wonderful way of just naming niches. So perhaps let's start there before we start to sort of join any more dots. I'd love to just hear your sense of niches, the importance of niches. What do you even mean when you're talking about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, we've been talking about niching the whole time. That's without saying it, we've been saying it.
Mm,
The way I define niching that makes the most sense to me is it's the role in the community or in the marketplace that you want to be known for. So it often gets taken as just target market and who you're trying to reach. I
mm.
just think there's more to it.
Can I
And
just stop you there? The first time I read you, I read you saying that rather than heard you saying it. The first time I read you saying that, it was like all these like lights went on in my mind, just like, oh my goodness, yes, this isn't some just like, like, oh, this is a powerful way to market or you'll sell more. And it was just like suddenly it's just like, oh my goodness, like that gives it context. This feels true. And so I just want to say, like, the way you talk about that, I think is just so fabulous. I'll let you go on now, but I just wanted to highlight that.
thank you. So we all have a certain role in our communities and in the marketplace, and we're not for everybody. We can't do everything. I mean, it's a real human thing just to testify to how heartbreaking it is to be human, to see so much pain and to be able to do so little about it. Um, and we just can't. We wish we could, but there are these very hard limits of our capacity, of our understanding, of our position, the privileges we have. It goes so far, and
Mm,
no farther. And you can push yourself to just crater yourself in a pit of ashes and burnout, and the world will still be a mess, which some of us discover the hard way. So there's limits there. And the limits of the world and the limits of our life, they don't confine us, they just define us. It's not a trap, it's not a dungeon. It's those limits are the shape of our lives and our work.
mm,
One of the easiest, one of the surest ways I found, particularly for people who are coaches or in the healing arts or in the service providing world in some ways, is, and I got this from Jeffrey Van Dyke. He said our deepest wounds are often the surest doorway to our truest niche.
yes. Yeah,
The
yeah,
places we've been
yeah.
hurt and struggled or seen other people hurt, or this is often gives the direction of our work and our lives. People get scared about niching because, oh, I'm going to lose out on something, but they're scared of the process, but they're never scared of the niche when it arrives. When it finally lands, the most common thing I hear is like, well, is sort of like, oh my God, it could be this. People start weeping sometimes when they see what their
Yeah.
real role could be, because I think the reason we resist niching is we imagine we're going to be given a role that won't suit us, that's going to ask us to do a bunch of stuff we don't actually want to do, help people we don't want to help, and feel in that way trapped and constrained. And it makes sense, growing up in the society we do, that we have that fear, because that's been most of our experience in life.
Yes. Yeah,
We're
yeah,
being
yeah.
put in roles that don't suit us. You're an introverted kid, but your parents want you to be an extrovert. You grew up wanting to be an artist, but they want you to be a doctor, or you want to be a doctor, but they want you to be an artist. And so we're constantly shoehorned into these somebody else's shoes that don't fit us, that cut our feet, and uh, etc. This has been most of the shape of our lives, is the shape of other people. I can't remember who said it, but I think it was maybe Jung who said this: the strongest influence on the life of the child is the unlived life of the parent.
Yes, that's a Jung quote, one of my favorite. One of those like
Yeah.
haunting
Yeah.
quotes, isn't it? Mhm.
Especially, I imagine, if once you have kids.
Yes.
Um,
It's also, the thing I love about that quote is also really powerful in terms of like a permission giving to live our lives as parents.
yes.
Mm.
Yeah. Amen. Well said.
Mhm.
So yeah, so we've been hurt in various ways, and when people start to see, this way I was hurt, I don't want to see other people hurt this way. This could give some direction. This is just a doorway in, and so that's a limit, you know. But it's so liberating, it's so freeing when people finally realize, oh my goodness, I could help those kinds of people. One example I often give, because it was so striking. I was talking with a woman who did Ayurvedic nutrition and healing. And she was so stuck with her niche, which she just only thought of as target market. But it's like, I could work with professional women who, maybe because she thought they could pay. And she had a number of these that when I heard them, they just fell so flat because I didn't see the connection at all. And finally, I asked the question I probably should have asked her immediately, which was just, why, what got you started on this? And she said, oh, because I had fibromyalgia very badly. And it really, ruined my life. I couldn't do anything. And I tried everything. I tried the drugs. I tried this alternative treatment, that one. None of them worked until I did the Ayurveda. And then I'm fine now. It's completely cured. I just have nothing. I'm healthy. And I looked at it, it's just like, it had never occurred to her that she could focus on helping people with fibromyalgia. And she was almost weeping with it, of, oh my God, I could help. And because she realized she could help, because she'd been through that and she knew something about it. She actually had some credibility. She could do something that would be useful for these people. And of course, she'll have an easy time writing a sales letter. I did a video a while ago called Marketing is Memory. I just said, if you're doing it properly, especially if you're in the healing arts or a life coach, writing a sales letter is you're writing a love letter to who you used to be.
Oh yeah, I love that.
And so you're choosing a limit, but limitations are freeing. If you want to just completely confuse and constrict an artist, you say, make me anything, any medium on any topic. It's so baffling. But if you say the theme is heartbreak, here are the 3 colors you have, and here's the medium you'll be, the type of canvas and the size, that liberates them. Because now they have some there's a book called Improvisation in Life and Art by a fellow whose name I wish I could remember, a red book. You can find it on Amazon. And but he makes this point, has a whole chapter on this, about the importance of limits in art. If you're going to be making art, you've got to embrace the limits. In improv, I did improv comedy for 25 years. The hardest scene is the scene.
I didn't know that.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. With one of the best improv companies in the world, Rapid Fire Theater in Edmonton. Yeah. But the hardest scenes are the ones where people go in and just don't name where they are. So there's an old improv game where you walk up and it's 2 people. You're in a line and you keep switching up, but you go, hey there, Frank. And the person, you name the other person. The other person says, hey there, Bob. Good to see you here at the cemetery. And the other person says, yes, let's go dig up some bodies. I don't, but you say something related to the space. So you're both named, you know where you are, and then you've picked something to do. So in 3 lines, you've got the limitations that you need. And then You know, in improv, we also talk about this idea of you stay in the circle. So if the scene is about an enchanted forest, there's a lot of things that fit in that circle. There's a magic castle, there's a nook in a tree that elves live in, there's magic, there's swords, there's knights and dragons, that all fits. But aliens don't. An alien UFO is outside of the circle. And so you're willing as an improviser to accept the limits, not just
Mm.
accept them, man, be so grateful for them, because now you know the boundaries of what you can do. And so it's the same thing in your marketing. You know, you say, okay, I help these kinds of people with these problems, I come from this point of view, and there's 6 limitations to think about. You know, it's the who, what, where, when, why, and how. Those are the limitations. Because you can't reach everybody, like with the who, just it's going to be limited in some way anyways. Yeah, what you do, you don't do everything. How do you do it? You have a certain style, a certain way of doing it. You don't do it in every way. Where you do it sometimes is the limit. You know, I work in this
Mm.
neighborhood. When you do it, time zones are a thing. I mean, I'm sorry, but even if you're going to be online, no matter, as I've learned in my membership, no matter when you schedule the calls,
Oh.
somebody can't make it. So, you know, when you do it, just the timing you choose means Australia can't make it. And so you won't
Don't,
get a lot of
this is a
Australian.
really hard one for me. I
Yeah,
feel like I'm constantly having to choose between my favorite children, whether we serve our Australian people or our
yes.
American people. So yeah, this
So
is a particularly sad one.
yeah, and then there's why you do it. You know, there's the bigger cause that, you know, the bigger purpose of your work. And there's a lot of bigger purposes to choose. So it's not even, yeah. So in those 6 things, it's worthwhile just, and part of it is choosing limitations, but it's also just seeing what are the limits that are already there.
Mm, yeah.
What kind of life have you
Mm.
had? What are you good at already? And then you work within that, and that may expand and shift over time. Um, but so, you know, there are certain limits, but then people say, oh, I'm going to get pigeonholed. And here's what I would say to you: you wish, man, you should be so lucky to get pigeonholed. You should be so
Mm,
lucky to get known for one thing and have that not change. That would make your life easier. Your marketing would be dramatically simpler. You would hit the kind of hot level of marketing where you are just burning so incandescently in a certain community, and everybody knows where you are and who you are and what you do, and it's all word of mouth, and you don't have to do anything for marketing. That would be what happened if you got pigeonholed. You should be so lucky. But here's what thwarts that. Number one, you will change, you'll grow and shift. And that means you're going to be playing a different role because you're not who you were 5 years ago. And number two, the marketplace will change. The environment will change. Things will happen in the world that will make potentially what you do utterly irrelevant. Ask, you know, blockbuster movies or um, various industries that have vanished and are completely irrelevant. Uh, so these things change. And if
mm.
you don't change and adapt, once you change and the environment changes, your business will be irrelevant and wooden and hollow, you know, and of no use to anyone in particular. Your marketing will be very difficult. So there is this constant, business is such a conversation with the world. You're trying to see what's happening in the world and then what's happening in me. And then your business is the place where they meet.
Yeah, I love that.